with the Muslim chaplaincy, how did you get into that? And like, was there any struggles with that? I imagine there would be. I mean, because you had the criminal history in that.
Yeah. I started visiting brothers one-on-one, or just, just people one-on-one, as a personal visitor. I had no thoughts or aspirations of becoming a religious visitor or chaplain. I didn't think that would ever be possible based on, my history and affiliations like that. But I knew that there were no Muslim religious visitors, and there was no official setup with the jails to provide support and materials and stuff to the Muslims in jail. So I'd had conversations with the prison. Long story short, they weren't interested in dealing with me as an individual, but there was the Islamic Council, the peak body that that represented all the different mosques, or most of them anyway, and they sort of were credible in the eyes of the government. So I spoke to the council and said, "There's a need for this, and it needs to be led by you guys, because this is who they recognise as being, our leadership body." And they went, "Yeah, no worries." Look, and sort of said, "Well, you can go back and talk to them now and do it on behalf of us." So we had those conversations again, and we kick-started off religious visits. I wasn't an approved religious visitor at first. I never thought it would happen. I was just sort of helping to coordinate and find some people in the community who would do it. But as enough time passed, I guess some people within the hierarchy of the prisons began to have a little bit of trust in me or whatever, and they gave me an opportunity to come on as a religious visitor. And so, I had to learn how to deliver a khutbah real quick. Talking about Sheikh Google, I learned how to give a khutbah from WikiHow. Of course, I printed it off and made sure it was all correct, which it was. But I printed it all out and glued it in the back of like a diary book, and so had to learn how to stand up and public speak and say all the Arabic correctly and understand what I was doing and learn about things so that I could teach things to the men, because my knowledge was very limited and still is. To this day, I don't know what I talk. Most of the time when I go in there, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. Usually something might happen in my week, something that I feel like they can relate to, something that's frustrated me, or something that has touched me, and I'll work that into the khutbah and just talk and bring it back to the religion and how how it fits into the religion. I try and talk about things that the guys are going through specifically in there and in the lifestyles that they're sort of living. So it's Mecca for me. You know what I mean? Like, most of the guys in there, probably 85% or more, are reverts in jail. It's not about imposing all the do's and don'ts on them at this point in time. It's about building iman. I feel like my role is to help them understand what the biggest obstacles they have in their life are, that are standing in between them and really starting a true relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and about trying to get them to move away from those things. Because if you've got a habit, if you're still selling drugs, you're doing all those things, like there are some sins that are, not all sins are the same, and there are some sins and things that we do that prevent us from being able to have a real honest conversation with God, or to move forward spiritually. And so I guess I'm focusing on those bigger things and just trying to get the guys to that point. And from there, it's just all encouragement about coming out when you get out, doing good, and let's do things differently, and come to the mosque and learn from the imams, and they all know I'm no imam, never claimed to be. I'm just a brother that's learning just like them. And so I'm just a stepping stone, man, for these guys in the earliest days. And my sincere hope and want for them is that they use whatever I can give them, and follow the direction that I try and lay out for them, and that they carry on moving to the proper scholars, to the proper imams, where they can learn deen properly and and live the deen properly. But yeah, look, there's been challenges. Wow, like, because of my history, because of my appearance, because of the relationship that I have with the men is different. Like, you find that a lot of chaplains of other faiths, the relationship is a little bit drier. And it's not a criticism or anything of the way they do things. It's just there's a bit of an age gap. A lot of the chaplains from Christian faiths are a bit older, and not a lot of them have shared experiences. I won't say none, but there's not a lot of common ground from what I see. And they'll go in and talk to the men, and it's when I go in there, it's love and hugs and kisses, and these are my brothers, and
Inshallah.
it's beautiful, and I love that. But from the system's point of view, they're like,
get a bit too close.
Yeah, they see exactly. But and I started looking in. This isn't traditionally what they're used to seeing, but this is Islam. This is the brotherhood of deen. Like, this is how we feel about each other. We love for the sake of Allah. And if I see my brother, I'm going to tell him I love him and hug him. And it's not just a dry conversation. It's connection. It's real.
Heart to heart.
So yeah, there's been challenges, and look, there's people that like we've talked about, that have a lot of misconceptions about Islam, that work in all areas of government and not government, and their personal views on Islam would certainly impact our ability to get in and service everyone with equity. So as I said, the way that the boys, because they're also new, the standard that they're sort of their standard of deen from an outside point of view isn't a really good representation of what Islam is. So I often tell the men, don't jump up and down and get upset if the staff aren't respecting your religion, because if you're not respecting your own deen, why would someone else? All they know is you're complaining because you're not getting a prayer mat or halal food, but then they're seeing that when you do get a prayer mat, you don't pray on it much anyway, or you're still using drugs, you're still doing all these things.
Getting in trouble, not
They think your deen or your version of it is a joke because you don't take it seriously. And until we start taking it seriously, and all of us, me first, I can't expect anyone else to. Look, we go out there in community, and we'll go out, we'll sell drugs, we'll commit crimes, we'll do these things. Then everything which goes against the teachings of our deen. Then when the police come and raid our houses and they don't take off their shoes when they run through or they step on the prayer mat, we're jumping up and down playing the Muslim card, or they didn't give me 10 minutes notice so my wife can put on hijab. We're upset. A bit like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
really? You're up, at least his foot on your prayer mat is at least someone's standing on it. Do you know what I mean? Because you aren't.
Yeah.
Play them out, brother. And again, I'm not generalizing because we're talking about a minority here, but I just it's unrealistic for us to be so upset at everyone's lack of respect for our religion. If myself, I'm not respecting it properly myself and living according to it. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's a good point. Yeah. So with the Jummah Khutbah in the prison, Is it all like secluded and private, or can inmates that aren't Muslim, can they see it happening? Can they hear it happening?
Uh, Generally speaking, no, they wouldn't be able to hear it and see it unless someone's like in the classroom next to us. Where it is private. We're in some jails, there's like a chapel in the chapel, in others there'll be classrooms, and we're in the classroom with the door closed. Non-Muslims are welcome to attend, of course. Each jail has a different process for approval for people. No, guys can't just walk around and turn up as they feel like it. They've got to be approved to come and all those sorts of things. But I welcome anyone from any faith or from no faith to come and sit down and have the experience. They can pray with us if they like, and listen and learn and ask questions, or if they've got concerns, they can talk about that. And it's an absolute open door policy as far as I'm concerned. And I've met some amazing people through doing that. Hey, like, and so many people become Muslim like you'd never in a trillion years think. I suppose I'm one of them, but just even from my own point of view, sometimes you think, nah, there's no way, And
Yeah. Do you get many guys that are like doing long sentences? I would think that you'd get more of them because they've got nothing else to look forward to if they're not getting out anytime soon as well.
I'll tell you, I won't say there's more of them. I don't know a hell of a lot of lifers, but I do know some. But what I've observed, and I've never even really thought about this until we're talking about it now, what I've observed is that guys who are doing life don't make decisions lightly. So if a guy's facing life in there, he doesn't just jump into Islam, from my experience. A guy who's doing doesn't jump into the religion quickly as a trend or without giving a lot of thought. He's contemplating. He contemplates it very carefully, and if he decides to do it, he does it for the long run. It's a different reality for these guys who know they're never leaving, or that they've got another 15 years before they're eligible for parole, versus someone who's bouncing in and out for 12, 18 months, 2 years at a time. Completely different experience. There's guys in maximum security, in solitary confinement, they've been there for 5 years plus, 23 hours a day, lockdown, no interaction whatsoever with other men unless they're shouting through the doors. Man, I often leave those visits or sit in those visits, in tears. Like, I'm just so moved by their life, some people have done some things that, what I mean, society says, okay, you're punished, and they get it. But again, it's, man, that one decision that's left you sitting in a quiet room by yourself, all day, every day, without family and friends, without anyone to hug you or to, really connect with, or, to share with. And, every single day, like, for years and years and years. I mean, I can't get my head around it.
Yes.
I cannot fathom it. And some of the wisdom that I take from, or I learn from these men, because me and you, most of us walking around out here, we've only got so far. There's only so far our thoughts can take us, because life is full of distractions and responsibilities. I can only sit there and think on something real good for such a period of time before something else requires my thoughts to go elsewhere. These guys are in a position where they can sit and think about something all the way through to its conclusion in such a way that no one, and the conclusions that they come to often are wisdoms that are just quite profound, and I get to tap into that,
SubhanAllah.
and that's, man, like, I just, man, I wouldn't do, like, I'm so blessed. Like, I'm so grateful that I get to to be with these guys. I'm so grateful. Like, honest to God, I'm so fortunate. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, we have someone like you, bro, that's doing this work and that's passionate about it, you know. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, it's just a blessing for me, man. It's just a gift. Like I said earlier, I want to do it forever. As long as I'm alive, I want to be in there and connecting and stuff.